Hey guys, welcome back. Today we are going to be adding a little bit of spring color and spring magic to our entryway. It's that time of year where everything is starting to bloom and come alive, but our entryway is looking a little meh, a little sad, a little dark, a little gloomy. So we are going to brighten this space up, especially because this is the space that we use most. And I always love coming home or leaving home and seeing something beautiful to greet us or say goodbye to us. So it's a really important space for me to really button up and get ready for the whole season. Now, this weather has been playing with my emotions today. It has been raining off and on all day. We get a little bit of showers, it picks up, and then it's like a light little gentle sprinkle. So hopefully it's not going to pick up too much, but we are going to be working in a covered area. So I think we're going to be okay. I'm really excited to show you guys the plants that we're going to be playing with today. I don't know about you guys, but when I was shopping for the plants, I had this idea in my mind like a month ago of what I wanted to do. And I was ready and I wrote down my list and my little sketches. And then when it went time to go buy them, I was like, I don't know if I like any of this. Like I was shopping and I had everything in my cart and I was like, I don't know. So the other day I was at the garden center and I completely was just having a little creative block. I don't know if you guys ever get those in your gardens, but I went a completely different direction and I'm really happy with what we've selected. So let me turn my camera around, show you the plants that we're going to be working with today and the area that we're going to be planting up, and then we will jump right in. All right, here are the plants that we are going to be playing with today. I do have some things in the back, some pansies that I grew from seed that I would like to bring up and probably use those as well. But we're gonna start out here with our hellebores. Now these are spent, but they look stunning. I love every flowering point of a hellebore because I think they all look so different at different flowering times. But I think this is so stunning. It's obviously bloomed, but I love how it has little seed heads forming, and these will just hold on to these blooms for a really long time. So I am going to use these in our containers, and then we picked up some pincushion flower. These are from Bauman Farms. We were there the other day and we picked these up, and let me just show you guys the tag. So these are the butterfly blue pincushion flower. So these grow 18 inches tall and wide. They require full sun and they're hardy down to zone 4. I love using these in containers because I will just pop them into the landscape when we're done and they make a beautiful cut flower. And then we have these really cute purple, they're yellow top purple lobularia. So I love the little flower power of these little plants, and I do hope to use these in our summer containers as well, or we can also pop these up in the landscape when we are done. Next up, for a fun pop of color and texture, we are going to be using these fire alarm heuchera. I love the leaf shape of a heuchera, one of my favorite perennials to use in the landscape. And then for some really beautiful texture, we are going to be using this tassel fern. And this one, let's see, can take part to full shade, hardy down to zone 6, and it gets 2 to 3 feet tall and 24 to 36 inches wide. I'm excited about this. We have a couple of leftover rose beacon violas from another project that we did together. I also have a smaller fern. This is a western sword fern, and let's see. This one grows 48 to 48 inches tall and 36 to 48 inches wide. And they are hardy in zones 6 through 9. We also have this really beautiful white Nancy Lamium. I love a Lamium. I think they are one of the most beautiful plants to use in containers for texture. And these get 6 to 8 inches tall and 12 to 18 wide, and they are hardy to zone 3. Amazing little plants to have in containers. We also have some strawberry nemesia, and these are also amazing for containers and the landscape. I think these are going to be amazing in our containers, and I do hope to add more of these into our landscape this year. Next, I have something that I'm really excited about, and I'm not too familiar with fuchsias, but I'm definitely getting more into them. But this is a Bella, I think Mariska. The tag is kind of faded there, but it's an upright fuchsia. It's compact and upright, green and crisp foliage, flowering outward, facing single flowers with a rosy and violet color to it. I am so excited about these, and I love how the stems of these kind of play on the heuchera foliage, the color of the heucheras. So I think that is going to be stunning. And I just can't wait to have little flowers kind of drooping over. I was looking for a trailing one, but they didn't have any good colors that I love that I think would play well with everything else. Now, some of the plants that we're using today are shade loving, and we are planting them in an area that does get full sun, but we're also in the springtime, which I always like to push my plants and see what I can get away with. A lot of these are going to be transplanted to the back and shadier areas, and the ferns are going to be transplanted to our deck. We have some smaller containers next to our little trio of Japanese maples, so I hope to plant those in those smaller containers. And I love ferns. I think they're probably my favorite. Are they my favorite? One of my favorite plants to use for texture. I think they're so stunning, and they're so nostalgic to me because my grandma always had ferns when I was growing up in her house. And so every time I go over and I visit her, I still see she has some beautiful baskets of ferns and in her house. So they're just one of those plants that every time I see them, I think of grandma. So I definitely want to bring more of those into my garden this season. This is the area that we are going to be working in today. We're just cleaning this area up a bit. I do want to come in and just do a quick paint job once we have some dry weather, just as a temporary solution until we actually redo this entryway with the siding and everything. And my stepdad and Sergey are here. Actually, you might see them coming in and out. They're in the middle of changing this hardware here, so that's why there's a big old hole there. But I do, even though we do have a lot of changes that we plan on doing to this space, it's still our entryway. And I know it's not complete yet, but that doesn't mean I can't make it beautiful and welcoming and just add more flowers to it, which is what we're going to be doing today. My stepdad came in and just helped me clean this area up real quick, so I think we're ready to go. Now, in terms of our containers, I am going to add a little bit more soil to them. I have to remove these bricks. These were in here to help support our trees that we got at Mount Hood for our winter containers that we had out here. So those worked out really well. I'm excited to do that again. But anyways, I'm going to remove those and then we are going to just get into it. Now, one of the things that I like to do every springtime is recharge our soil in our spring containers. Before, I used to think that you would have to remove all of the soil and get like a fresh batch and all of that. But I quickly learned that that's not really necessary. So what I like to do is remove maybe like the couple 2 inches of the soil. I'll add in some fresh soil and then I recharge it with biotone and then slow release fertilizer. I'm probably not going to use slow release fertilizer today, although the biotone does have it, but I'm not going to add supplement to that because I really focus on using the slow release pellets with our summer containers because those are the plants that are going to put on a ton of size and they're going to really need a lot of food to produce the big, beautiful blooms that we all love and enjoy throughout the whole season. But our spring containers, it's much like our fall containers. They're not going to put on a ton of size, so I don't have to overdo it with the fertilizer. Again, the biotone already has some slow release, and that is also going to feed the soil. So it's kind of like a double win-win using the biotone, and that's what has worked for me in the last couple of years. So that is what I'm going to continue to do. All right, so we'll just top dress this one a little bit, fill it up a little bit more. Now I'll use a little bit of biotone. All right, we are ready to start arranging them. Now, because these are going to be against the wall, I can put some of my taller things in the back. So I'm thinking the hellebore here. or maybe here. Well, let's just play around with it, see what we like. All right, let's do the pincushion flower here. I'm thinking about having it here because this has more flowers, but I also like it the other way. Let's see, do we like it this orientation? No, I think the other way. So do that, kind of like back here. All right, stick with me. Let's see if the heuchera, I think the heuchera like this. We might even be able to sneak in another heuchera back here. That might be much though. Let's say like this one better. Okay, let's put that there. Now the fern I would like over here. Okay. The Nemesia maybe right here, or do we go right there? Still thinking that there. This here. All right, we're getting somewhere. Now we can come in with this viola over here and maybe the lamium over here. But I want to be able to see more of the lamium. So maybe we'll go lamium there, fern here. I know it's going to be tight, but we're going to stick with it. And we'll do that there, maybe fern there. I like that. I'm liking the fern there. And then we'll tuck the lamium right there. Or we could go heuchera, and we could put the Nemesia, and then fern, viola, and the lamium over here. I like the other orientation though. Okay, we're just thinking out loud. Let's do that. Let's go here, here, here. Oh gosh, guys, what did we have? We have here, here. I don't want to put two flowers next to each other. Oh, I'll go here. I like that better. There, and then the lamium right there. Okay, I think I like that. Let's go with it. This is looking really tight, but I think it's going to work. And if it doesn't, we pivot and take something out. It's funny because I had this whole pink theme that I wanted to go with. Look at those roots, beautiful roots. These are not gonna be here that long, so I'm not too worried about tickling them. But anyways, I had this whole pink theme that I was going to go with this year. And that just went kaput out the door. Okay, looks good there. Good roots. These I'm just going to just massage a little bit like this and really just tuck it in right underneath this pincushion flower. Right there, really just butt it up against it, kind of underneath it like that. All right, let's come in with our fuchsia. Do the same thing. Just gonna tuck her really in right here. Our Nemesia. right here. Then we can come in with that hukra. We're just gonna slide her in back here, like that. Can play around with the leaves a bit. Oh yeah, I like that a lot. Okay, let's see here. I might cut this back so we can see a little bit more of it. I completely forgot about our lobelia, but I brought some here for us to just tuck in right here as well. Oh yeah, I like that. And then we will go in with our lamium. And look, we're gonna have a little bit more space just because we're planting really tight and everybody's kind of butted up against each other. Oops. Okay, like that. I put one more lobelia back here, kind of just tucked away. And then we will come in with our little viola. All right, that leaves me a little bit of space, a little triangle here to tuck in some of the pansies and violas that we grew from seed. Here they are, they're still in their little seed trays. And this is the Frizzle Sizzle mini tapestry. And just look at how sweet that is. I didn't even bother uppotting these, but just look at how cute those little roots are. So adorable. So I'm gonna just tuck them in here and give them a little bit of space so they can put on a little bit more size. Okay, that feels really good to me. We can even come in with something back here. Well, that's gonna be tight. That's gonna be pushing it. Maybe we won't. We'll just turn her over like that. But I think that looks really good. All right, let's go ahead and plant up the other one. All right, here is what we're looking like, and I love these spring containers. One thing that I came in and did, I think my camera might have died after I was cleaning, is I added these little picks in here. This is a bee, and then I have a little hummingbird over there, and I did that because the hellebore is flopping over. So I just, instead of staking it up, I just used this little pick, and I think actually that looks really cute and lovely. But since we're here, let's just have a close-up of everything. Now, we did pack in these containers really tight, but again, they're not going to put on a lot of size. And a lot of these things, we're getting double use out of them because they will go out into our landscape. I just love how colorful these turned out. For some reason, I always enjoy the container on the right-hand side versus the one on the left. I don't know why. But it's always this one that I'm most attracted to. Anytime we do anything with our containers. It's always this one that I'm always looking forward to. Not sure why, but that's how I am. When we were planting these, I wasn't sure how the pincushion flower would do with this color of heuchera, but I actually think they look really well together, especially because the heuchera is kind of plain on the hellebore. This is I think it's a Mary Marble hellebore. I lost a text to it, but it's very beautiful and dark. The heuchera also plays well with the stems, again, of that fuchsia. I cannot wait for this to start blooming. It's going to be beautiful. It also plays well with this nemesia here. I think those colors go well together. And of course, with our little pansies that we grew from seed. I just love that color. And this will also kind of brighten up the space right here a bit, which I think will look really lovely. Now with our tassel ferns, I just planted these in our smaller containers, and I went ahead and planted some of those violas too around. I've never done this combination, and I don't know if I love it or hate it, but because I thought these would fill in this area a little bit more, they didn't. Maybe I should have gone with a heuchera. I think that would have been lovely as well. But I also love the texture that this is bringing and providing to the combination of the containers. I would say I should have gone with something a little bit taller over there. Maybe like a little evergreen. We could have done a yew. Gosh, you really just have so much opportunity to do something a little bit more vertical in that container. But nonetheless, I still like the way that it looks. And again, the fern kind of ties in well with the fern in here. They're still different enough because this is very glossy, where this one is a little bit more matte, that I don't think they're clashing or there's too much going on over here. These spring containers are not going to put on much size like we talked about earlier. So I'm not worried about coming in with fertilizing them once a week like we typically will with our summer containers. I'm just going to keep them nice and watered. That biotone that we added to the soil to recharge it is going to hold them up really well. So again, not too worried. Oh, the rain is picking up. Not too worried about feeding these too heavily throughout springtime. One quick note that I wanted to mention, and I think I was starting to talk about this when our camera died, is when you're planting your containers and you're done planting them and you're cleaning up, make sure when you're watering to rinse off the plant and the container. One of the biggest pet peeves that I have, and I don't know if you guys are the same way, is having the soil kind of drip down the container, and you see that and it looks a little bit unruly to me. So I like to come in and just make sure I clean everything up. Again, it really adds to the overall look to your containers. And if you have a lot of space between plants, make sure you come in with a little bit of mulch. That way you're covering the potting soil, because the potting soil usually has that pumice in there. So I don't love to see that in our containers in our soil. So I usually come in with a little bit of mulch at the end if I have a lot of space in between things, just to make sure it's nice and dark and even throughout the season. And the other thing I wanted to know is play around with texture. I think we kind of get in our heads a little bit about the rules of containers and what you should and shouldn't use, and like your filler, your spiller, your thriller, and all of that jazz. But I'm also somebody that loves to play against the rules, or kind of test the boundaries of what we can do, especially in our containers, obviously in our garden, but also in the containers. And I just find it more fun when you can kind of think outside of the box and you plant things that you normally maybe wouldn't see together. And I usually do that with a lot of perennials because, again, we get a beautiful show in the container and then we get to plant them out in the landscape. So I am kind of pushing it with some of these plants, especially because some of them are shade loving. However, it's springtime. It's not going to be too warm where I think they're not going to do well over here. This area does get full sun, but it's so cloudy for us usually throughout springtime that it's okay. They should be just fine. They're not getting like super bright light or sunny light. So I think they'll be fine. And again, just challenge yourself. I think gardening and container gardening, especially in the springtime, is really where you can play and see what works, what doesn't. Obviously, we packed these containers in, and I'll give you an update on how they start to look once they start to color up more. But I'm really happy and I'm really proud of myself for pushing myself outside of the box and not just going with like typical plants that we normally see for spring containers. Anyways, I think that will do it for today's video. I'm going to let my stepdad and Sergey get back at it with the door handle here that they're changing out, and I will again just keep you guys updated on how these look once they start to color up a little bit more. So anyways, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today in my garden, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.